when does someone know it's time to keep hanging on and work through something, and when is it time to let it go? Many people get stuck in a relationship like that. It's like, no, I just got to keep pouring more into it. And when do we know?
Our number one answer is, do they have a growth mindset towards relational tools? You can have a growth mindset in many areas of your life, but
Mm.
do they have a growth mindset towards relational tools?
Mm.
And if they
And can you
don't,
say more about that if someone is not familiar with what is even growth mindset and relational
are they
tools?
open to learning new skills?
Ah,
Are they open to practicing new ways of showing up, which requires a self awareness to recognize what are the patterns that are existing, right?
hmm.
It requires courage to look at yourself because in order to grow, there's a lot of shadow work that comes in there.
Right.
And it is work, it is effort, it is time, energy, and attention.
Hmm.
It's relational skills and tools are not just about how to be better communicators.
Hmm.
And our work that we do together, and we have a joint relationship podcast, it's called Love Isn't Enough. And
Mhm.
the root of that was actually really born out of, even though our relationship from the get go felt like divine intervention of us meeting,
Hmm.
about 7 years in, we got stuck. And we went through a short but very uncomfortable and powerful breakup.
Oh,
And what we realized was it wasn't about not loving one another or not wanting to be together. It was all of our own unresolved stuff from our past that was preventing us
hmm.
from leaning into safety, trust, and vulnerability with one another. Because if you go to a couples therapist and they teach you how to repair after an argument or how to communicate more effectively, that's great. But if
Yeah.
you've got anything standing in the way, preventing you from accessing those tools, the best relational tools aren't going to matter if you can't access them because of
Yeah. They're
whatever
going to be
come up
sitting
from
on the
your
table.
past,
Yeah.
right? And so the courage to be open minded and to get out of your
Hmm.
own way, to understand what are our patterns that we're getting stuck in that aren't working, and where can we begin to look for new ways to go about doing that. And a
Hmm.
big piece of that in our mind is the self work. And so actually the couples therapy that we do is a really unique and quite effective model of therapy.
Hmm.
Is I work with the woman individually, he
Hmm.
works with the man individually, and then we all four come together in couples work. So we're
Ah,
allowing both the individual and the relational work to happen simultaneously. And even
mm,
in our individual work, they come to us as a couple so they know that we can talk behind the scenes on our individual sessions to help
right.
support the individual work that supports the couple. And it's huge because
Mm,
couples get stuck in the name and the blame game. Who's hurt more? If
yeah.
only you stopped doing this, I'd be fine. But we're not
Mm,
taking accountability into what do I need to do to show up differently. So we get to do that simultaneously. But
mm,
even outside of doing this model with us, if you are not inclined to grow and to learn, and the person in the relationship who's unhappy is asking their partner to grow and learn, and if the partner doesn't want to, that to me is one of the biggest indicators of whether or
yeah.
not it's worth staying in that relationship or not.
Mm. And it takes so much courage to even ask oneself that and even ask their partner if they're wanting to do the work because they may get an answer of no, or maybe it is a yes, but they don't have a capacity
Well,
or
that's what happened to
readiness.
me. When I
Yeah.
went to couples therapy with my husband, we went to three different couples therapists.
Mm,
And the first one, he said, you guys were like this because we grew up together, right? And we were best friends for our high school and college years.
yeah.
And he said, you guys were like this. And then he said, I started to do this and I started to grow. And he
Mm,
turned to my husband and said, if you don't do a little bit of this with her, she's going to be gone. And he was like, this is me, love me for me. And the guy's like, that's great. And if you don't grow a little bit with her, and he repeated that like three times. And my husband had no desire to do any of that growth.
yeah.
And to some extent, I don't blame him for that. That wasn't his path. That wasn't what he was
Mm,
inclined to do. And it came at a big cost. And we all can look back now and say, and he says this all the time to the point where my kids, we kind of laugh at it.
this is
He
your
says it.
ex?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll say, we're exactly where we're all supposed to be. And it also takes courage to recognize that we had to divorce to be able to get to each of us being where we were meant to be. And
Mm,
it's amazing. I mean, he and I were together 23 years. And soon after he met my partner, John, he said to me, I'm so grateful you found him. He's exactly who you said you always wanted. And that just wasn't me.
Wow.
And he said that to me probably at least a half a dozen times over the past 9 years. And he means it. And that takes a lot of
Mm,
courage to actually mean that for someone
yeah.
who hurt you by not wanting to stay married. And that's courageous, right? But he's exactly in the kind of relationship he's supposed to be in. I am
Yeah.
exactly in the kind of relationship I dreamt of always being in. And it all started with, the courage to look at myself and sit with myself.
Yeah. And do the tough things. He said when we began something really beautiful too is, life is hard, but there's a way through them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not, and even with mindfulness, it's not about sugarcoating. Everything is rosy, everything is
No,
wonderful.
not at
That's not
all.
mindfulness. You're saying no, life is hard. It's true. There's hardship, there's hurt, there's pain, there's disappointment. And there's a way for us to work through it if we choose to, rather than
Yeah.
the blame game, the pointing at everyone. There's a way to get unstuck. Hello there, and thank you so much for stopping by this channel. I hope you find this content useful, and if you do, feel free to hit that subscribe button. It will really help me to reach to more people and keep this content going. Here we are journeying together, and let's see where this takes us.